So you want to learn how to fly through the sky like a fucking fiery menace.
AC-130 ready for deployment.
Our AC-130 is in the air.
PK fire!
Game!
You want to learn how to move around the map faster than Nestor Cooch in his Corvette C8.
I feel like I'm in a fighter jet.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Lemur, and today we're going to be looking at literally everything that has to do with Top Tree Dawnblade, including the different perks that the subclass has and how they relate to each other, the most optimal build for Top Tree Dawn, and of course, Warlock skating. And if you guys have any other questions about what I cover in this video, or maybe you know something that I might have missed, then feel free to come talk to me about it over on Twitch. I'm live a lot, and I'd love to answer any questions that you guys might have, or, you know, just become pals. Now, before we dive right on into the nitty gritty,
Yeah, boy.
let's talk about the build that I personally use and how this here subclass works to begin with. So up first we have Celestial Fire. This is the melee ability, and honestly guys, like, I can't even lie to you, this shit's just so broken. Like, it is beyond good. You pretty much just send out these like 3 fiery shits out of your hand that like track people, and they go around walls, they go around corners, they go around Titan barricades. It just does so much damage. Plus, if you pair this with Solar Plexus from the seasonal artifact, it does even more damage. It is very broken, very good melee. Next up, there's Heat Rises. This is a lot like Devour, where you know, if you've ever used that before on Nova Bomb, you pretty much just consume your grenade, and whenever you do this, you're able to float in the air for 10 seconds, and while you're floating, you actually have perfect in-air accuracy, which is really good. And kind of how this is all paired together is with this last perk called Winged Sun. And so there are 2 parts to this perk. So pretty much the first part is that let's say you're running literally any other Warlock subclass in the game. If you ever try to aim down sights or shoot your gun or throw a grenade or anything like that while you're gliding in the air, you'll just fall straight to the ground. However, with Winged Sun, you are able to stay gliding in the air and stay aiming your weapons, stay throwing grenades, stay shooting, all that kind of good stuff. Without falling to the ground, you will stay gliding in the air. And unfortunately, you will not have perfect inner accuracy unless you have Heat Rises active at the same time. However, you're still pretty damn accurate, and you can still shoot and hit shots. I do it all the time, and it's definitely a really good perk. And the second half of this perk is that every single time you get a kill while you're in the air with Heat Rises active, it actually extends Heat Rises duration. So, you know, it's initially 10 seconds, but you can actually theoretically just keep chaining this the entire match and stay in the air the entire match, as long as you are continuously getting kills, and keep extending Heat Rises duration. So that part of the perk is really good. Additionally, whenever you're in the air and get any sort of kills, it also recharges your melee ability. So I think if you get a kill with your melee ability while you're in the air, you get like immediately half of it back. So yeah, this perk right here is really good, and these 3 perks all just kind of synergize together really well. And then last but of course not least, there is Icarus Dash, which is kind of the piece de resistance. This is what you see all the bigger streamers and other YouTubers and that kind of stuff, just skating across the map at like Mach 10 speed. This is how you do it. It's insane, and we'll get into it in just a little bit. But yeah, definitely one of the strongest perks in the game, honestly. Okay, so now for the stats. I kind of just want to go through each one of these stats just real quick and just talk about why I went with this number for each one of these. These first 3 stats are definitely way more important than these bottom 3. So make sure you prioritize these if you can. So let's get started with mobility. If you guys did not know this, your maximum jump height is affected by mobility. So the higher mobility you have, actually the higher you will be able to jump. And unfortunately for Top Tree Dawnblade Warlocks, the higher your jump is, it actually kind of messes up the whole Icarus Dash and Warlock skating. So you actually want a lower mobility if possible. 4 is perfect, and 3 and 5 are good. So if you can get to 3 or 5, that's great. 4 is very ideal, but make sure you don't go below 3 and don't go above 5. Now for resilience, there are a ton of videos out there about why 6 resilience is really good and very beneficial. I'm telling you, just from first-hand experience, from the second you put it on, you will notice you survive just so much more shit. I'm not going to get into like each and every single advantage of having it, but I'm telling you right now, if you can get 6 resilience, go for it. If you can't, don't worry about it too much, because having 4 and 5 resilience literally just does nothing for you. That's just how the game is. But make sure you have 3. So if you can't get 6, make sure you have 3. But if you can't get 6, great. Now for recovery, no matter what class you are running, whether it's Titan, Warlock, or Hunter, you want to make sure that you have 100 recovery at all times. No matter if you're playing PvE or PvP, it does not matter. You want to be running 100 recovery at all times. This is the most important stat in the game. The faster amount of time that you're able to go back into cover because you're really weak and then come back out with full health and re-engage, is like having that time diminished is massive. So you want to be able to re-engage into gunfights as fast as you can, at full health as fast as you can. So I'm lucky, and my armor is actually pretty good, so I don't really have to worry about having recovery mods on every single one of these. But I'm telling you right now, if I did not have good armor with good stats, I would be rocking a recovery mod on every single one of these to make sure that I get to 100 recovery. So if you don't have 100 recovery with good armor, make sure you are putting recovery mods on all of your armor pieces to make sure you get there. Now for discipline, like I said, these bottom 3 don't matter as much. This one is more about your playstyle. So me personally, I'm a sniper. I like to float in the air. I like to get picks. I love to use heat rises. That's just kind of my thing. That's how I like to play. So I typically like a higher discipline stat. Now, if you're a shotgunner, maybe you don't really care about floating all that much. Maybe your grenades aren't as important. Maybe you could use some of this discipline and put it somewhere else. Maybe you don't have 6 resilience, but you have 5, so you could, put a whole rank into there if you could with better armor, something like that. So for me personally, I run 6. It works for me. If you don't care about using heat rises that much, don't care about floating, don't really care about your grenade, definitely go lower and put some of those stats into something else. With this build, I get about, I think it's like a grenade at the start of every trials round, which is perfect for me. So that's why I run 6. And now for intellect, as you soon shall see, this super is dog meat. It is not good. It is very bad compared to something like Spectral Blades or Bottom Tree Striker. Yeah, it's not good. There's definitely a skill gap there when using it and learning how to use it. So I'll get into that at the end of the video. But for now, my intellect doesn't have to be super high. I have 5, which works for me. So like I said, you're not using this subclass for the super. You're using it for the neutral game, the Warlock skating, the heat rises, all that kind of stuff. You're using it for the neutral game, not for the super. So I would say your intellect stat doesn't matter as much. So if you want to go lower than me, honestly, you could. If you want to go higher because maybe you just want to, totally up to you. You kind of have some free reign here. Do whatever you want with it. And now for strength, I run 4, which I think is honestly pretty low compared to some other people. But the way this subclass works, like I said earlier, is that there's a bunch of ways to get this energy back faster. So if if you get a kill while you're in the air with your melee ability, you immediately get half of it back. Plus, if you get any kills while in the air, it gives you a melee ability energy too. So typically this doesn't have to be that high, so 4 is perfect for me. If you want to go higher, great. If you want to go lower, I don't know if I would. I think I would stay at 4 if you can. If not, totally fine. But like I said, you will get it back fairly easily just from the way this subclass works. Okay, so you guys have seen how the subclass works. You guys have seen what kind of stats you want to run. Now let's get into the Icarus Dash and the super, real quick. So honestly, it's really not that difficult, and I think a lot of people have trouble with it because they think it's really challenging and it's really hard to do. It's really easy. So here's what it looks like. You guys have all seen it before, but just wanted to give you a little demonstration right there. Before we get started, there are 2 things we have to make sure you're doing. First things first is make sure that you're running burst glide. You can run this with strafe and balance glide, however you won't be able to dash across the map. The whole point of Warlock skating is that you are building off the initial boost of momentum you get from burst glide, so that's why we have to run burst glide. Now for your keybinds, I personally think you should put your air move key on your mouse if possible. It just helps out with the maneuverability. Okay, so now there are 3 basic steps to how this works. Step 1 is just sprinting and double jumping. Your classic double jump, activating that burst glide. That's what we're going off of. And then as soon as you activate that glide, you know, you press that spacebar a second time while you're in the air, you want to activate your Icarus Dash. And if you do that, it looks like this. Right, looks like that. Now this is where timing is crucial here. You want to activate Icarus Dash as soon as you press the spacebar a second time in the air. If you do that, you will go much faster. So if I wait a while like this, that's what it looks like. However, if I play off this initial boost of momentum with burst glide, you know, it looks like this. Definitely a lot faster, right? So that's what you're trying to do here. Play off that momentum, you know, definitely activate that Icarus Dash right after you activate your glide. Okay, so now second step is simply adding another glide after that first Icarus Dash. So just press that spacebar one more time while you're in the air after you activate that Icarus Dash. If you don't, it looks like this. See, I just fall to the ground like normal. Nothing crazy happened. You know, nothing else is different. Now if I activate spacebar right after I do the dash, it looks like this. I glide to the ground, right? That is step number 2. And now finally step number 3 is simply just adding in another dash after that that final glide. So if we put it all together, it looks something like this. I'm gonna do it super slow, so I'm not gonna be going as fast, but just so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. You know, you want to sprint, double jump, Icarus Dash, spacebar, Icarus Dash. That's literally all you're doing, guys. And yeah, you literally just throw it all together to move super fast. You know, you just do a little bit faster in between, and if you do that, it looks like this. You guys can tell I barely activated the spacebar. Like as soon as I tapped it and I started gliding, I Icarus Dash for a second time, and that's how you get that really strong second boost. So again, you know, sprint, double jump, dash, spacebar dash. All you're doing, guys. You know, definitely the best way to learn this is just to go to a private match and just run around. I'm pretty sure that's how all of us learned it, you know, who are currently using it. So that's literally all there is to it, guys. It's a lot of fun to use. So yeah, just run into a private match with just yourself, run around and try to get it down. All right, guys, last but not least for this super, I'm not gonna go too in depth on it, but basically there's 3 things we want to talk about. First thing is that if you just stand here, you get 8 swords. If you do nothing else, you literally just stand still and throw swords, you get 8. However, this super, you can also use Icarus Dash pretty much infinitely as long as you have super energy, because it also uses super energy to do. So if you look at the bottom left here, my super is actually taking away some energy every single time I dash. So you are able to get around the map really fast. However, it does cost energy. So you know, if you add that with the swords, you know, let's say you're chasing someone, you're throwing swords, that kind of stuff. Say I'm chasing a group of people, you know, whatever, throwing a bunch of swords. The super does run out kind of fast. You know, it's no spectral blades. It doesn't last super long. So especially if you're chasing people down, dashing a lot, that kind of stuff. So it does run out pretty fast. So definitely keep that in mind. One thing that always screws me up is if you just spam dash, right? I'm just spamming dash. See how I did a little shoulder animation? It's different than the other ones I was doing earlier. You actually get a cooldown and you can't dash. I think it's like 5 seconds. It's kind of like regular Icarus Dash where you get a cooldown. So I'm literally spamming dash right now and it's not doing anything for me. So the way to get around this, wait for my super to come back. The way to get around this is to simply just glide in between each dash. You pretty much just press spacebar like before. Dash, spacebar. Then that's all you have to do. Yep, that's how you get around it. You can dash infinitely, but you gotta be pressing spacebar. Happens to me a lot is let's say I enter in a giant room, you know what I mean? There's a bunch of people, you know, I'm trying to kill them all, that kind of stuff. I'm dashing around and I'm spamming my dash to get around, and I actually do the little shoulder thing and I actually just get caught floating in the air trying to dash, but I actually can't because it's on a cooldown because I was just spamming. So that happens to me a lot. Definitely keep that in mind when using this super. And I guess the last thing I want to talk about is these swords. So these swords don't have a lot of tracking. It's nothing like bottom tree Dawnblade. They have a little bit of tracking sometimes, but it's really finicky and I wouldn't rely on it because sometimes they track really well and sometimes they just suck and they don't track at all. So when it comes to using swords, you kind of want to use them like you're using a grenade launcher, or I guess like throwing a pass, like you're throwing a football to someone, is you want to aim ahead of your target. So if your target is moving to the left here, we're going to aim ahead of them hoping that they will run into the blade, if that makes sense. So I like to think of these as a grenade launcher. I main grenade launchers, and basically, yeah, you just want to aim ahead of your target, and that's the, I guess, the proper way you wanna throw these. And lastly, these swords are sometimes really annoying because sometimes you will hit a person dead on and it will do like 4 damage or like half damage. I don't know if it's just glitched or bugged or something, or maybe that's just what Bungie intended with this super. I really don't know, but it is really annoying because sometimes you will enter a room with like 5 enemies and you're like, okay, I'm gonna kill this guy first, and you move on to the next guy and you turn around and go kill this guy. But as it turns out, this guy over here actually only took like half damage and is still alive. And that can actually cost you your life sometimes because while you focus on someone else, he's still alive and actually just like kills you from behind. So that's actually happening a bunch of times. You know, just something to keep in mind when using the super. All right, guys, that is going to do it for me and my top tree Dawnblade tutorial. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope it was helpful to you. I know it was a little bit longer than I would have liked it to be, but I really wanted to go in depth, you know, on the stats and the movement and that kind of stuff, and really help you understand, you know, why I chose what for this build, and, you know, etc. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And like I said before, if you guys have any more questions, let me know in the comments down below, or you can even come to my Twitch and just ask me directly in chat whenever I'm live. So, and yeah, guys, if you guys did enjoy the video, it would really help me out a lot if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel for some more videos. I'm going to be focusing on YouTube a lot these next couple of weeks, you know, the next couple of months. So hope you're ready for some more content. And yeah, guys, I'll see you all in the next one.